Hello, puppies and kittens. I am interviewing uh, Ovais
Okay.
Ovais Khalil. He's a coordinator for Humanist Health Care in Washington, D.C. So there is a Humanist Health Care.
Yes, we're actually fairly new.
All right. Well, tell me about this program.
So what we're trying to do is bring attention to humanists in the healthcare setting. What really kind of inspired me for this is with the COVID-19 crisis, there's a lot of highlights on what churches are doing. And a lot of times people want to volunteer. People want to hear stories about what you're doing. And I myself tried to volunteer for Samaritan's Purse, but unfortunately you have to be a Christian to join, even if you're a healthcare person. So I thought,
Wow.
why not make your own organization? And people at Washington Area Secular Humanists were more than happy to accommodate.
So will you allow Christians in your
I do not have a religion test. And if you're a qualified healthcare provider and want to do any charity work, please.
All right. I just think it's funny that there are some religious organizations that refuse even to take donations from secular groups.
I was thinking that'd be the only thing they'd take.
Yeah, well, that would cause them to have to admit that the Bible is wrong when it says that none of us have ever done or ever could do good. So you're out there in the field refuting that. I understand.
Yeah, actually, and it's kind of funny thing. I actually 5 years ago was trying to go to school to become a preacher, but yeah, now I'm out there and leaving that to go become a nurse because I really wanted to do some good in the world rather than.
Okay, so you were going to be a preacher.
Yeah, in the Church of Christ.
Okay, and were you already doing healthcare to some capacity? I mean, imagine you would have had to have been, if this was only 5 years ago, you had to have had some degree of education by then, right?
So oddly enough, I got out of the Marines and decided to go get a bachelor's in computer networking, and realized I just really wasn't feeling fulfilled. And so I kind of had this desire to do something for humanity. And kind of the great Christopher Hitchens, he used to say, if you haven't done something for humanity, you should be ashamed to die. And so I decided to try to be a preacher, realized that the inconsistencies in the Bible, Bart Ehrman, Matt Dillahunty, yourself, especially kind of got me questioning. So then I decided, I'll go become a nurse because it feels more up my alley. I'm actually a very empathetic person. I never lost my empathy when I decided to leave the faith, which is something I thought would happen.
Yeah, for anybody that hears somebody calling my name in the background, that is my parrot, and and he's not going to shut up about that. So I apologize for that. So now you're part of an organization that is doing healthcare, but it's not like the Christians in that they're like just advertising themselves and to the exclusion of anybody else, but you're actually doing something to help humanity. And if they won't take you under their name, then go in the non-religious name is what you're saying, right? You tried them. They wouldn't even let you in. So now we have to do our own.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
So how big is this organization? How new is it? Tell me more.
So it officially started 3 weeks ago with Washington Area Secular Humanist, and even though I'm mentioning that, I really do want to say it's open to people nationwide, any healthcare provider, because we'd love to hear stories of the amazing work secular nurses and doctors are doing, and even technicians in all fields of healthcare. So we are having our first official meeting on May 1st. But so far, we have about 5 members. 5 people emailed me so far, telling me stories about how they're volunteering, how they're picking up extra shifts at their hospitals, not even asking for any extra money. And surprisingly, one is a doctor, but the rest are nurses, which is kind of surprising to me because there's no outspoken secular nurse that I've ever met other than myself.
My daughter is in nursing school right now, and she's unapologetically secular.
Is she making enemies yet?
I'm sorry?
Is she making enemies yet?
Not yet. She's still in school. And she is not quite as in your face about it. somebody has to get into her face for that to erupt. But if you do, it might. Yeah, there have been situations where people would confront her with religious nonsense at just like completely the wrong moment, and that's when she would unload. But she wouldn't invite the situations. Like I would. Right. So you have 5 members, and right. How are they members? I mean, these are people that work at different hospitals and so forth, right?
They work in different hospitals around the DC, Maryland area. We have 3 nurses from Johns Hopkins, 2 from Adventist Health Care. And not saying their names would be just for the sheer, I don't want them to get in trouble, especially the ones at Adventist. But so far, those are the members that we have. And we're hoping to get more. Right now, we're not looking for any donations, but eventually I would like to do what Samaritan's Purse is doing and sending people to New York, sending people to these hot spots, and just putting ourselves out there that, hey, we're humanists, but we're here to help. We don't care about a reward in the afterlife, but we're just doing good because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I so tire of that argument about, if we are just animals, then why don't we just run around killing and raping and everybody for the fun of it? One, because that wouldn't be fun. Unless you're seriously defective. I think Penn Jillette said that he has raped all the people he ever wanted to, which is 0. He never wanted to rape anyone. But I have to explain to people like regularly. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a script right now that gives the same explanation of why we have morality as a social species, being dependent on society, and society that we depend on also requires us to interact productively. So it does no good to piss off all our judges and peers and neighbors, right? And especially when people with selfish or cruel or apathetic means tend to be removed from the gene pool, either by being imprisoned or banished or killed, right? And so that there's a very strong selective pressure toward those people who have empathy and compassion for our family, friends, and fellows. And so this is where morality comes from. And this is why we have it. And God's had nothing to do with that. But you'd be surprised. I have to explain this to people every day.
And it's surprising that's actually something I have to explain to, and so I obviously work with a lot of religious people, mostly Christians, and love them, great nurses. And I had to explain to one the other day, I think you would be just as great of a person if you weren't a Christian. I could tell, you can look at somebody and see how much they really care for their patients. And it's just just remove the Christianity from it. And I think you'd be a great person. You'd still be doing what you're doing. That's what happened to me. So yeah. I agree.
I know people who are still Christian, who I admire them for being good people. Now, this is not common, I certainly don't meet people. Well, it's not because they're Christian that they're good people. I think what happens is good people grow up in our society. They know they're good people. They're empathetic. They're caring, and all of this, and so somehow, or they're culturally conditioned that good equals Christian.
Right.
Or good is associated with Christian. And so this is how they end up being associated with Christianity, even though they couldn't. Shut up, bird. Damn it. It's not the bird, it's the dog. I'm going to build an underground studio someplace, completely soundproof with no animals. Anyway, you go ahead, please.
Well, and to the point you made, if you even do a Google search right now, just type in atheist and nursing, and the top articles you'll see is an author, Christina Hellmeyer. I can't really, it's some German last name, but she'll probably show up on the #1 list. And she talks about how nursing and atheism are completely separate from one another, and how there's no atheists in foxholes, there's no atheists in nursing, which I'm just I had to smack my head because I'm like, what? And then there's another article you'll see about somebody who said, well, if you're an atheist nurse, you can't take care of patients just as good as if you're as a Christian nurse. And for me, I guess I could actually counteract that. And to quote you, life is short, life is precious, and when we die, there's nothing after it. that gives me a desire to take care of my patients even better. If there's somebody who's dying, I want to make sure it's a painless and with dignity as possible, you know? And if they're going to be making it through, I want them to be able to really enjoy life. So to recover as much as possible, to enjoy things that they want to do.
Yeah. Conversely, if you think that this life is just some sufferable or insufferable trial period before the greatness that's supposed to come after, then why would you be all that concerned about saving anybody's life?
I kind of wonder that now. I for a long time I feel like I stayed a Christian for either I think it was mostly the fear of hell. I mean, I actually grew up in a Muslim household and converted to Christianity in the military, and then.
So you were already in trouble, even if you hadn't gone atheist.
Exactly. Yeah, it was it's all, I've realized for the longest time in my life, I've had just religion shoved on me. Islam, the military itself can at weird points be very religious. You have chaplains, you have a lot of, before you even leave for boot camp, they give you these little pocket Bibles. And then majority of people today are religious in the military. I didn't even know what the military associations for atheist agnostics were until like a year ago.
Yeah, so I know somebody that runs a meetup group, a physical meetup group at one of the training bases. So she has all of these boot camp people come in, and she's had over 100 at her weekly meetings in the boot camp, and her organization doesn't get any recognition from the base. They have their chaplains. They won't let her be a humanist chaplain, even though her class often exceeds that of the actual recognized chaplains. And to that other point about there being no atheists in foxholes, the very first interview I ever did was with somebody that was running an organization called Atheists in Foxholes. And he pointed out that there are actually no chaplains in foxholes.
Very good point. And you'd be surprised at how much of a response I got from nurses now who are coming out and saying, I'm not religious. There's many who are just kind of like teetering on the edge of kind of making it public. The atheist community of Austin's Discord channel, I've had nurses come to me and say, this is how I feel. I'm a nurse, but I feel like if I come out in public, people are going to look at me differently. My coworkers or my supervisor, I might not get that promotion. And, me even being on your show, does it make me nervous? Yeah, this is kind of in a weird way, me coming out to a lot of people, but I feel obligated to do so.
Well, I've heard that the propaganda from the believers. It's difficult to look at a sunset and still be atheist. I don't obviously have that problem, but I mean, I would think that, and I've heard other people say this, that it's difficult to still be Christian and work in a children's hospital. Especially one that has a cancer ward.
Yeah, it's really hard when you see the suffering out there, and you really do want to do things about it. But and that's what I really kind of want to do with this organization. And I'm hoping that people everywhere would want to join, because think about places like Doctors Without Borders. They're doing more than Samaritan's Purse. They're actually sending people to these places. A lot of secular nurses that I know are coming out saying that, we want to take care of these COVID patients. We want to be out there. They're not backing down. And I'm just excited to spread the stories, because at this time, science is what's is saving people, not prayer.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers, so very useful. Yeah, and I like the saying that that two hands working accomplish more than 1,000 clasped in prayer.
It's funny. We once in a while we lose patients. I mean, I work in an ICU, so we actually lose patients quite a bit. And I've had people say, "Well, don't worry, the family knows that they're in heaven now." And I just gotta think, it's just like, no, that actually pisses me off that we weren't able to save that patient, because now I'm motivated to save others. But to say, I feel like it's just kind of like throwing it under the bus to say, oh, they're in heaven now, so it's okay.
Yeah, that was the thing that believers. I did an interview at Children's Hospital where it was supposed to be me and two other humanists. And the thing was that the hospital chaplains wanted to talk to humanists because they had noticed that the little platitudes that they say to Christians or to Muslims that make them feel so much better, not only were not working on us, they had the opposite effect. They were enraging people.
Right.
So these chaplains wanted me to explain, and it was supposed to be two other people, but they ended up not being able to make it. So I end up sitting in a room alone with like 10 chaplains, and we had an hour-long meeting, and it just so happened that my own granddaughter had died of leukemia in that very hospital a couple of years earlier. And so we had a very emotional discussion wherein I told him, you have a huge challenge, because if you tell a grieving person, a secular person, a rational person, that their child is in heaven now or is in a better place now, you are going to enrage that person, and I have to explain why it enrages us. We don't, because real world situations require real world solutions. And lying to me is not going to help anything, and so there would be the response that, in a better place now, what, in the dirt is a better place, because that's just going to set off rage. So I had to tell these people that there's not any little bullshit story you can tell. All you can do is give us genuine human empathy.
Right.
A hug, a shared tear, something like that. That's what we want. We want your humanity, not your bullshit.
I couldn't agree more. That actually, we're about to start a website for Healthcare Humanists. Do you care if I take that quote? We want your humanity, not your bullshit. So,
and you're welcome to amend or alter that as necessary.
But I agree. It's a one thing that I can actually say to my patients, family members who have passed away. A lot of times,
take it. We want your humanity, not your spirituality. Maybe that would be better.
Actually, I think that works better. I actually have to talk to you about that. But one of the things I usually say to my family members is, they're not in pain anymore, because, a lot of times you do see patients going out in pain. I'm not going to ever tell them that they're in a better place. I don't believe they are. I do believe in a way that they're at peace, the long dreamless sleep, who wouldn't prefer that over being in excruciating pain.
Have you ever had a surgery?
Right. Yeah.
We had to go under general anesthetic. I don't understand why people are so afraid of death. If you're not afraid of surgery, they're exactly the same thing, right? Except with the surgery, it doesn't hurt.
Right.
So where is the point of fear? I mean, believers seem to be afraid of the oblivion. I don't get that. Being dead is not scary. It's how you get dead.
Well, I think believers really, and I know this is kind of turning into a little bit away from healthcare, but I think formerly being somebody who wanted to be a pastor, believers like it because there's some sort of justice in the world. You don't want to make I don't think they like being in a world that, the shitbirds get away with it, and good people are treated like shit. And I think that that's how they do it, can make a sense of it in their mind, but rather they don't want to actually take action themselves, which is why I went into nursing. I want to treat good people like good people. And help bad people become good people.
Yeah, I know of people that I've met that may not be very smart people, but they're good-hearted, kind people, whatever, and they get absolutely shit on. And even sometimes when they're not, always good-hearted and kind, they certainly don't deserve the wealth of shit that some people have to go through in their lives. Some people get just a bad card. Some of us are lucky and go through relatively unscathed, and some people just have adversity against adversity again and again and again. Like my own brother is like this. I'm like, dude, how can you have so many terrible things happen in one lifetime?
Right.
What gods did you piss off in your previous incarnation that you live like this? Which is obviously, I'm being a joke. Believers will think that I actually believe that there are past lives and gods and stuff.
Right.
If
Yeah.
I didn't clarify this, but there is a thing about some people that just get away they never see justice. They get to do whatever the hell they want. They get to hurt whoever the hell they want. And they always skate away from it unscathed. And then there are people who just absolutely didn't deserve all the horrible amounts of crap that have been left upon their lives. It's easy to wish that the world was the Twilight Zone and that there is some, supernatural Rod Serling who's going to be dealing out justice somehow.
Right. Yeah, it is easy to believe that. It's kind of interesting because one of the things that we are planning on doing at Washington Area Secular Humanists and Healthcare Humanists is trying to advocate for kind of the removal of some of that bullshit from organizations. Like the American Nursing Association actually has dimensions of humanity, and they have in there the spiritual dimension. I don't think that should be in there. I believe in the physical, I believe in the emotional, I believe people are out there. And one thing I'm hoping that healthcare humanists can do when we get enough members is to start lobbying. I'm currently working on my degree at GW, an advanced degree. I hope to get my PhD in nursing eventually and become a nurse practitioner. And I'm hoping that with the contacts at GW, I'd like to go to Congress and kind of help the population of atheists, agnostics, the nuns in healthcare really come out.
Yeah, I have some questions about the structure, maybe not as it is right now, but more going forward, how you see this being set up. So you have a handful of nurses, literally just a handful. You said like 5 so far.
Right.
And currently the only association they have is that they identify as secular. How do you see the structure developing as this moves on and spreads out?
Well, so I kind of see the structure developing similar to Samaritan's Purse. And I know I keep on mentioning them because they are actually a very large nursing organization. But so what I see happening is eventually for the people who are local, seeing local chapters spring up, doing things like fairly recently, some people from healthcare humanists and those nurses actually donated masks for me to give to my particular hospital, which was fucking awesome. I really wanted to thank them. The other things that I would eventually like to see is just different branches, like some people who are interested in lobbying, some people who are interested in research, some people who are eventually interested in just pure charity, doing what Doctors Without Borders is doing, sending people to these hotspots. In fact, one healthcare humanist is actually preparing to go to New York right now, and where she could make $5,000 a week by signing on to the organization, signing with a contracting company, she is refusing to do so because she says that's not how you be good. She doesn't want to take any money from it. So I wanted to shout. I don't have her permission to share her name, but I did want to throw her a shout out.
Okay, so if you are a nurse and you're secular, I want to make sure that you send me an email as soon as we're done speaking here so I can get all your links in. Right. So for people who want to contact you, want to be part of this organization and all of that. And any other formative ideas? I mean, you get input from other people in your group as to how to expand and grow moving forward?
Yeah, so Washington Area Secular Humanists is going to allow us to host a website on their website. So I'm really wanted to thank him for that. Mike Reed is the president of WASH, and he is very, very supportive. And I think Sam McGuire, who used to be the president of WASH. I'm really excited for what they're going to do. One of the reasons things are kind of starting up a little quickly is because of the COVID-19 crisis. This virus is moving very fast. So I wanted to organize very fast.
Well, I understand that our beloved leader has just happened across a cure just yesterday. In fact, he said that we could inject ourselves with household cleansers. Right. And I did not believe when my wife told me that he said this. I thought not even he could have said that. But then, he had another idea because they discovered that sunlight would kill the virus faster than being in the shadow. So if we could just he suggested, if we could just expose the inside of our bodies to sunlight,
You know, yeah, to everybody out there who wants to inject themselves with disinfectant, don't fucking do that. Seriously.
And then he said, well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I've just got a great,
He's got a great brain. Yeah, he knows more than the generals. It's so and just FYI, I'm speaking right now personally because I'm not speaking on behalf of the WASH organization. So, but yeah.
Well, I was just making an aside that the president made this incredibly bad medical advice on top of the other one that he did for that other chemical for, what was it, malaria treatment, that
Yeah,
he was suggesting might be a cure, and then we should just take it. What have you got to lose when it has lethal side effects?
It is unfortunate because now people are actually prescribing that drug left and right. Like most of the hospitals are actually saying, "Oh, let's make it part of our treatment plan," before you can actually do any tests because of the president.
And now we have people with lupus who need that medication,
right?
Who can't get it because they're prescribing it to something we now know that it doesn't work on.
Yeah, it's and even I don't know if you heard about that hospital that told the lupus patients, "Thank you for your sacrifice during this time." They shouldn't have to be sacrificing, and this is what happens when you have actions taken that aren't backed by science. When you take steps, and that's another purpose of this organization. We want to promote science over stupidity. You would be surprised at how many times I hear nurses tell patients, "There's been studies done on prayer," or even tell each other, "There's been studies done on prayer." And I want to scream.
Well, to be fair, there have been studies done on prayer, and prayer has been a consistent failure, most particularly in medical applications. Right where you would expect that it would at least have a placebo effect, it fails even there, having detrimental results. That's the studies I've seen.
Oh, yeah, the Templeton Foundation, they pretty much knocked it out there, and I think they're a Christian organization. I believe so. So that's a Christians telling Christians that doesn't do shit. So it's, in the end, that's what happens when you promote dogma, you promote stupidity over reason. I'd like to see nursing eventually kind of go in the direction of where we can be a more respected science, because I love my field. A PhD in nursing is a science. It is actually a science to provide caring to your patients. And not only that, I mean, I know nurses who know way more than most doctors. And it's a blend of treatment. It's a blend of caring. There's nurse practitioners who prescribe medications, who can provide those diagnoses, those critical thinking. And
if I could just get you an aside for a moment. You said the nurses that know more than doctors. I'm going to guess that is because of repetitive practical experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm not dissing doctors. I mean, there is doctors who are interested in joining healthcare communities. So yeah.
Well, you were talking about being a PhD.
Right.
In nursing, which technically would make you a doctor and not a nurse, but it would make you doctor of nurse. And I was trying not to make that joke because I know you've heard it a bunch of times. But the point that I was making is that nurses have a long time, career-wise, practical experience in their practice, right? And doctors are supposed to be in a practice too, but they have the degree. They could be right out of school. And you can have a doctor who's facing a nurse with 20 years of experience. The nurse is probably going to be more knowledgeable in that case.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And I've actually seen that happen. I mean, there's that happens quite a bit. You'd be surprised. Real quick, you care if I grab another beer?
No drinking on my show. This is Coca-Cola. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And now we're just going to play some nice interlude music, something like the intermission from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Da, 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 da. While we wait for my guest to return. I'm also very impressed with nurses. I had to live in a hospital for a while when my granddaughter was going through treatment. So, much respect there. Welcome back.
Thank you. Am I the first person to ask for an interlude on your show? just out of curiosity.
Yeah, because I don't have any intermission music.
I'm glad I claimed that title.
Yeah, no problem. So, and I think I don't know how much how much else we have to go over. So I'm just going to let you give the last of your presentation, or give the full presentation, whatever you have left, and I'll just sit back quiet.
Sure. So Healthcare Humanists, we are an organization where we are putting science over dogma, where we are trying to spread the news of people who, whether you're secular or not, but just want to do good. If you're not associated with any religion, you could be atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, Jedi. And that way, but if you want to come do some good, we'd love to hear your stories. You can participate as much as you want to or as little as you want to, but we just want to highlight issues out there, and we're hoping to get in contact with other organizations like American Humanist Association, Atheist Community of Austin, and see what else we can do.
I would also like to talk to any atheist, agnostic, Buddhist Jedis.
Exactly.
Anyone who can claim all four of those titles.
Right.
I think that's actually possible to do.
Do you care if I if people who are interested in this organization, do you care if I give my email for them to contact me? I have a WASH email for them to.
Okay, I would suggest that we put that in the description below, and then if necessary, I can delete it later. So rather than have you say it here, just provide any links for contact or anything else that you want to include, and we'll put it in more description.
Yeah. So keep. We're gonna inform people very soon. We are gonna have our first meeting over Zoom on May 2nd. If you are interested, look at the WASH meetup group, and then we'll have a website hopefully in the next couple weeks. So looking forward to just hearing all these stories.
All right, so Ovais Khalil, or is it Ovais? I still can say
Ovais.
Ovais Khalil, humanist. I don't even see what Humanist Health Care in Washington D.C. Thank you very much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
To you, sir. Do send me updates as you progress, and I'd be happy to help publicize if you need that at some point.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and I'm going to go ahead and close it out.
All right, sounds good.